Hey, Lincoln, how's it going? Hey, Caleb, it's going okay. Just been thinking about some things from my past. Oh, yeah, what's been on your mind? So things haven't been going great between my wife and me lately. To be honest, it feels like we're stuck in this endless cycle of repeating the same old problems over and over again. It's almost like we're starring in our own personal rerun of a bad sitcom, and I can't help but wonder if we're doomed to keep making the same mistakes. What problems? Back when Monica and I were 25, things were pretty hectic. We found out she was pregnant, and we made the decision to move to a new city to start our new family. But then, things took a bit of a crazy turn. Out of the blue, I received a message from a woman claiming that Monica was seeing another guy. At first, I was in total disbelief. I mean, Monica and I had always been rock solid, or so I thought. But after a confrontation, she finally admitted that she had been in contact with an old flame from her school days. Apparently, it was all just platonic, but it still clapped me like a ton of bricks. Honestly, it was a pretty low point for me. I felt like I was failing as both a husband and in my career. It's tough to be hit with news like that, especially when you thought you were doing everything right. But looking back, it was a wake-up call for both of us. You know, looking back on that time in my life, I realized that I was struggling with something pretty heavy, depression. But the thing is, back then, mental health just wasn't something that people talked about like they do now. Oh, I know. So, what happened next? You won't believe what happened after Monica and I had that super intense heart-to-heart about her past flame. After much deliberation, I decided to forgive her and work on our relationship. It wasn't easy, but we were making progress. Things were looking up when she landed a new job, but sadly, it didn't last long. Before we knew it, she was left without any income, which was a huge shock to her system. You can imagine how stressful it was for us, but we managed to keep our heads above water. It wasn't an ideal situation, but I did what I had to do to support my wife. I mean, at the end of the day, she's my partner and I love her. So, we both got to work and managed to make ends meet until she landed a new job. But I had just started a great job at a startup, so I was able to support us financially for a few months until she found something new. It was a bit of a tough time, but we were managing. That is, until the startup I was working for went belly up. Suddenly, I found myself out of a job and in need of income. That's when I decided to take a leap and start my own consulting business. It was definitely a scary move, but I figured I had nothing to lose. Unfortunately, though, this was also when my depression really started to take a toll on me. I began experiencing somatic symptoms, which was pretty scary. I talked to a doctor about it, and they ended up prescribing me antidepressants to help manage the symptoms. That sounds rough. Yeah, it was. I gained a lot of weight, and my hair started falling out. Not exactly a confidence booster. I stopped doing all the things I used to enjoy, like my hobbies and hanging out with friends. All I really wanted to do was come home and spend time with Monica and the child. They were the only things that made me feel happy and secure. Man, I can't even begin to describe the feeling I had when Monica dropped that shock on me. It had been about a year since our child was born, and I thought we were in a good place. But then, out of nowhere, she admitted to seeing that same guy behind my back. To say that I was devastated would be an understatement. I felt like such a fool for not having delved deeper into the issues in our relationship. I guess I had just assumed that she had learned her lesson and that we were moving forward together. That must have been really tough for you. Yes. After Monica and I went through that difficult time, we knew we had to take action to make our relationship better. We decided to try family therapy, and I even read a ton of psychology books to learn as much as I could about how to make our relationship work. Over time, everything began to improve. Monica found a new job as the head of a major organization in her field, and her income increased significantly. I was pretty proud of myself, too. I managed to open up my own consulting agency, which was going great until the pandemic hit. It was a tough time for everyone. Just when I thought things were finally getting better, life throws me another curveball. Now I'm completely in the dark. I don't understand what's happening. It's like I'm stuck in a never-ending cycle of disappointment. To top it off, my wife's behavior has been suspicious lately. I can't shake the feeling that she's been up to no good, but I don't have any concrete proof. If it turns out that she's cheated on me again for the third time, that's it. I'm done. I won't just walk away from this one. I'll make sure she remembers this for the rest of her life. I'll make her regret ever crossing me. It won't be pretty, but she brought it upon herself. Oh, that sounds cruel, but it's fair. Keep me posted on what's going on. 4 weeks later, I'm leaving my wife. What? Why? She thinks she could take me for a fool all the time. Tell me what happened. About 4 weeks ago, things started to take a nosedive. Monica started acting super strange, like a totally different person. She was always on her phone, scrolling through social media, and it seemed like she was chatting with other guys all the time. I mean, I wasn't exactly sure what was going on, but something definitely felt off. Meanwhile, I was feeling stuck like a bump on a log. I wasn't making any progress in my life or in my relationship. It was like I was stuck in this weird limbo, while everything else was moving at 1,000,000 miles an hour. And then, to top it off, I found out that she was flirting with other guys online. I felt like my heart had been ripped out of my chest. I couldn't believe it. I mean, I knew we were going through a rough patch, but I never expected her to do something like that. But to her credit, she owned up to it and apologized. She promised to stop, and I wanted to believe her. I mean, I loved her, and I wanted to make things work between us. So we decided to work on our relationship and see if we could get back on track. It's crazy how things can take a turn for the worse so quickly. I thought we were making progress, but then out of nowhere, Monica called me up and told me she had lost attraction to me. Can you believe it? I mean, I couldn't believe that the first time she brought up something being wrong with our relationship, she blamed it on my appearance. I mean, come on, that's just a low blow. It felt like she was trying to make me feel even worse about myself. I won't lie. It was hard to hear. I mean, I know I'm not perfect, but I didn't think my appearance was the reason for our problems. It was like she was just looking for an excuse to blame me for everything that was wrong. It's frustrating because Monica is the type of person who has such high standards for herself in every other area of her life. She's always striving for perfection, and she expects the same from everyone around her. But when it comes to me, it's like she treated me with the lowest possible standards. It's like I was an afterthought in her life. That must have been tough to hear. Yeah, it was. Despite all the chaos, I decided to take matters into my own hands. I was sick of feeling sorry for myself, so I hit the gym and worked on getting in shape. And let me tell you, it paid off. I lost a ton of weight, started feeling great, and my confidence was through the roof. To top it off, my business started taking off as well. All of my projects went viral, and I was finally achieving the success I had always wanted. Things were looking up, and I was starting to feel like I was on top of the world, but then something terrible happened. I'm not sure how to explain it, but it was like everything came crashing down all at once. It was like the universe was trying to tell me that I couldn't have it all. It was a dark time, and it felt like I was back to square one. What was it? I'll never forget that night. I woke up in the middle of the night and decided to go to the living room to clear my head. And what did I find? Monica sitting there with a smile on her face, chatting away on the phone. Red flags went up right away. As soon as she saw me, she ended the conversation and tried to play it off like she was talking to her mother. But I wasn't buying it. I knew something was off, so I demanded to see her phone and find out what was going on. Let me tell you, what I found was not pretty. She had been exchanging flirty messages with another guy, and it was pretty clear that something was going on between them. I was devastated. It was like a punch to the gut. How could she do this to me after everything we had been through? I was completely devastated when I saw those messages. At first, Monica tried to resist and make excuses, but then she burst into tears and spilled everything she had been hiding. As it turns out, there were more skeletons in her closet than I ever could have imagined. She had been involved with some guy in a car just a year after our wedding. I was shocked. How could she keep something like that from me for so long? But then she told me that it was her fault, and that's why she never said anything. And if that wasn't bad enough, she dropped another shock on me. She had a full-blown affair with one of her subordinates at work. And get this, it was someone I even knew about. They had been getting close in their car several times. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. It was like my entire world had just been turned upside down. To say that I was shocked is an understatement. It was a huge betrayal, and I felt like I had been living a lie for years. I mean, how could she keep all of this from me? It was like our entire relationship was a sham. And to make matters worse, I had worked so hard to try and make things better between us, but it was all for nothing. It wasn't just the emotional toll either. It cost me a lot to get where I am now, financially and otherwise. It felt like everything I had worked for was being taken away from me, all because of her actions. It was like I had been hit by a ton of bricks, and I didn't know how to pick up the pieces. I'm sorry you had to go through all of that. What happened next? After all that had happened, I needed some time to clear my head, so I left for a few days and tried to gather my thoughts. When I came back, we had some really deep discussions about our relationship. I wanted to know what was causing her to lose attraction to me, and I was determined to get to the bottom of it. What she told me really surprised me. It turns out that one of the main reasons she was losing attraction to me was that I was managing the relationship both financially and in terms of decision-making. I had no idea that was even an issue for her. That must have been hard to hear. It was. She said that when the dynamic changed, she tried to remove that expectation from our relationship, but that ultimately made her lose respect for me, which in turn made her lose attraction to me. But it wasn't just that. She also didn't like that I wasn't as socially active as she was. She wanted me to be more involved in our social circle, to look good and be respected by others. It was like I wasn't living up to her expectations, and that was causing a lot of friction in our relationship. It was a wake-up call for me. I also discovered that my partner had been pretending to feel good during our close moments. Despite my attempts to improve our closeness experiences, she never communicated her dissatisfaction to me. That's really not fair to you. What did you do? You know, it's never easy to end a relationship, especially one that you've invested so much time and effort into. We had a heart-to-heart talk, and she promised to make some changes to show me that she was committed to making things work between us. But I decided not to follow her lead and left her. I think this is the right decision. Good job for not letting her deceive you again and not falling for her tricks. It's important to recognize when someone isn't treating you with respect and to take action to protect yourself. Thank you, man. After that, I was absolutely devastated, but I knew I had to take action. So I decided to hire a lawyer to help me through the process. Together, we were able to gather enough evidence to prove Monica infidelity throughout our entire marriage. It was heartbreaking, but it needed to be done. Once we had the evidence, I filed a lawsuit to get our house back. I couldn't stand the thought of her benefiting from our shared home when she had betrayed me like that. After the lawsuit was settled, I took matters into my own hands and started telling everyone who she really was. I was fed up with her lies and deceit. To make matters worse for her, her parents turned their backs on her, and most of her friends blocked her. It was a tough pill to swallow, but it was the price she had to pay for the pain she had caused me. I'm just glad I had the courage to stand up for myself and expose her for who she really was. It was a challenging experience, but I learned a lot about myself and what I value in a relationship. I've come to realize that open and honest communication is crucial, regardless of the situation. Maybe if my ex-wife had been truthful with me from the beginning, things would have turned out differently. However, I also understand that sometimes no matter how much effort you put in, things just don't work out. It's a tough reality, but it's a part of life. The only thing I can do now is take this experience as a lesson and move forward in a positive direction.